Hello, good morning. Have you ever had an idea and you thought, you know what, oh, this would be great if I could bring this to market, if I can invent it? I know I have. And so many of us have not even taken it out there, right? Because we don't know how, especially physicians, when we don't have that training, we might have the idea, we might have expressed it to our friends and our family as a phenomenal idea that could solve a problem, but we don't have the business skills to do so. Well, I have a doctor here today, a physician leader who's going to talk us through this, how to actually do it. He's done it himself. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe, and I am the CMO of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Lead Physician. And we're on this platform to help physicians become better leaders and better in business so that they can actually lead in healthcare transformation. Thank you so much for your support. If you can like and comment, if you want to hear more about this, thank you so much for the support, and I hope you have a happy new year. So let's bring Dr. Arlen Meyers on here. Hi, Arlen. How are you?
Hi, Elsie. Thanks for having me, and Happy New Year.
Oh, yes. I'm so happy to have you. Let me just introduce you. He's the professor emeritus, actually, from University of Colorado School of Medicine and Business. And he's written this book called Digital Health Entrepreneurship, which I would love to show the cover of this book. I just bought this book. I asked him, what book should I get so I can be better at my business? I think this looks like an encyclopedia, but this is like amazing book that he's written, and it's already on its way. So tell us a little bit about your journey here. You're also the president and CEO of a nonprofit. Tell us a little bit about that, and we're going to get into how can I take an idea to market.
Sure. So I'm, like you mentioned, my first career was as an academic ear, nose, and throat surgeon and facial plastic surgeon at the University of Colorado. I did that for 40 years, and then I sort of made a mid-career correction. So my second career was to create it's a long story, but the short version is we invented something. And as a result of that invention and the issues it presented, we decided that there was a market need to help doctors understand the business of medicine, and particularly innovation and entrepreneurship. So the first pivot was creating the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs with a bunch of folks, which basically is a global nonprofit biomedical and clinical innovation and entrepreneurship network. Our mission is to help our members get their ideas to patients, and we provide education, resources, networks, mentors, experience, peer support, and non-clinical career guidance. The third career that I'm involved with, and the second career pivot, is in innovation as entrepreneurship, particularly involved in educational entrepreneurship, digital health entrepreneurship, med tech, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've had a fun career that's a little bit unusual. And as such, now I basically teach, I consult like you to a whole bunch of companies, and I run the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much. So tell us who can join this society and what do we learn from joining?
Right. So it's an open innovation network, and we created that intentionally. As I mentioned, we're a 501c3, 501c6. We're a global nonprofit. We have chapters all over the United States and around the world. And fundamentally, as I mentioned to a lot of people, a SOPE is a dating service. It's like a cross between Rotary and Match.com. So basically, we help people who are interested, and it could be anybody, investors, entrepreneurs, service providers, healthcare professionals, patients, business school people, anybody who has an interest in getting an idea to a patient or helping someone who wants to get an idea to the patient can join and be part of the platform.
That's amazing. Okay, great. Thank you for forming that. And tell us. So now let's go to the crux of this podcast. Is I have an idea. I know that this could really help, but I'm afraid. Like I don't even know how I'm going to get the funding.
Right.
I don't even know where to start.
Right.
Take us through that.
All right. So here's how you need to think. And obviously, there's a lot to this, but I'm just going to give you the headlines to kind of tweak your interest. One is, so the first step is you got to answer the why. So why are you, and this applies incidentally, it's kind of a two-part, it's a two-sided coin. One is most physicians and most healthcare professionals are not prepared to do this. And we can talk about why and how we're fixing it and education, all that. That's for another program. But the point is, most physicians are not going to be taught how to get an idea to a patient. So at the beginning, you have to understand that part of this is a career pivot, and part of this is the technology and sort of the house and how do you do this? So you got to start with the why. So why are you considering getting an idea to a patient? And that could be a drug, a device, a digital health platform, an educational platform. I don't care what it is. But at the end, you have to figure out, why are you doing this? Are you grumpy? Are you unhappy? Are you not making enough money? Are you dissatisfied? And that's a whole process that we can go into again at another point. But you sort of have to get your head around why you're going to do this. And it's important that you do that, because the likelihood is you will repeatedly fail. So the fact of the matter is, of all the startups created in the United States, 4% of them generate $1 million in revenue. And when you up that to $10 million, it goes to 0.04%. So, and you're going to go out of business. I mean, the likelihood is you're not going to be successful. You're going to fail.
Okay.
And doctors are not used to failing. We are where we are because we never failed in our life educationally. And we got to the top of the ladder, and we have this mindset. It's almost what some people refer to as medical exceptionalism. We're not that exceptional. So if you can't, at least I'm not. So if you can't, just ask my wife. So if you have that mindset, then it kind of gets in the way. So number one, and the headline I have is, you got to make it personal, but don't take it personally. There has to be something personal in your life that motivates you. A sick child with a rare disease, a life event, an experience with something that just drove you crazy and is an itch that you must scratch. So there has to be something that is internally motivating you, not externally, because this is too hard to just do it for money.
It's for persistence.
It's for, call it grit, call it passion, call it purpose. I don't care what you call it. But the point is, it has to be this little voice in your head that keeps you going, knowing, so you make it personal. But you don't take it personally when you fail, because you will fail. You will have to reevaluate along the road. So that's number one.
So it's just the why is, and I saw you write so much on social media, and I appreciate those articles that you write, but you write that you can't just start with the solution. Like a lot of times you say, oh, this will be a great solution. You need to start with before that.
And so another little thing I have is, you have to be a problem seeker, not a problem solver. And the biggest problem that I see dealing with healthcare professionals, graduate students, medical student, you name it, is they start with a solution because they're research driven. That's what we're, we come up with this idea, and then now what? Well, it really has to be the other way around. You really need to, it basically gets down to design thinking. You got to get into the head of the customer, understand what they want you to do, and do it. So that's the idea, but we're not trained. In a sense, we are trained to do that because we take a history and a physical. We try to understand what the problem is, come up with a differential diagnosis and a treatment plan, but yet we have a hard time translating that to business. So if we are able to make that mindset shift, it's very, very helpful.
Is the reason why we're more likely to fail because we're going to give up? Or is it because we came up with the wrong idea?
Well, I would put it another way. There was an interesting article recently in the Wall Street Journal about when to quit. And I would say that I think a lot of people fail because they don't quit soon enough. And they don't realize that we could go through the business model canvas and lean startup methodology, all that. But the point is, you need to know when to pull the plug. And if you should pull the plug. So, and how do you learn from it? And that's probably one of the other points we should make is some of the problem that I see with this work is people either quit too soon or they quit too late. It has to do with And it has to do either with their idea or their career pathway decision.
Okay.
If you quit too early,
Right.
you made the wrong diagnosis and you wind up back in the same place. You're working for another person that's giving you heartburn and you're still unhappy.
Right.
If you do it too late, then you're filled with regret because you say to yourself, gee, I should have done this 10 years ago. So it's kind of, somewhere in the middle. It's like a Goldilocks thing. Not too soon, not too late, just right. So it's the same deal. When do you quit on an idea? And the other little saying I have is it's much better to quit on the idea. You just don't quit on yourself. You get up and you do it again. It's this make it personal, but don't take it personally.
So how did you take your product to success, and how did you overcome and become that 1% or less than 1%?
Well, first of all, I have a pretty lengthy failure resume.
Okay. See, we don't talk about that. So thank you.
Yeah. So you need to have a failure resume. And the point is, you need to learn from your failures.
Yep.
And you need to take personal responsibility for them. The people who don't, my experience is, when I don't take personal responsibility for my failures, I don't learn anything. So you have to take personal responsibility. You can't blame it on the system. You can't blame it on somebody else. You can't, I'm going to eat worms.
Right.
You can't do that. Well, you can, but you're not going to be successful.
Right.
So this entrepreneurial journey is a pass-fail course. You don't get like grades for this.
Right.
So the measure of success is not whether you were successful or failed. It's did you learn from your failure so that you could then translate that into something different. So I tell people I'm about, 3, 1, and 2 when it comes to the scorecard. Like a couple of things I did sort of worked. And like the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs, like some programs like working on Medscape, blah, 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 blah. In fact, the original medical device we created didn't succeed. That's a whole nother story, but I learned a lot. And actually that translated into the need for the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs.
Right. That's so good. So tell us you have this whole algorithm that you wanted to share with everyone about how to take it through success.
So this is like a little, we're all, the doctors in the world understand you need mnemonics to get through medical school, on old Olympus towering, all that. So this is the paid. So my little acronym for this is paid to A. So this describes the pathway. Now, the fact of the matter is there is no clear roadmap. This is not like entrepreneurship is not do this and then stop, fix it, do it, then do this, stop. It's too chaotic. It's just very uncertain. And so it's not a very precise roadmap. So in a lot of respects, and you need a map and a compass to navigate it. So the compass is what I said, the internal personal motivation and your value system. So what are you trying to accomplish personally? And that is your compass. Some people call it the true north. Some people call it your purpose or your mission or your karma. I don't know what it is, but that's the deal. So you need something that's going to guide you, and it's helpful to either create a map or have a map. So in a lot of respects, what you are doing is you're a pioneer. I mean, it's like in 1803, getting on a boat on the Mississippi River and going to Oregon. You don't know what you're going to find. It's the same deal. So you need this motivation and you need the wherewithal to navigate what you don't know. And that's another thing about this. So the P is preparedness. And the preparedness part is the understanding that you don't know what you don't know as a physician when you're going through this. So you have to essentially come down off the mountain, give up this mentality of exceptionalism. I'm a doctor. I know everything. Don't tell me what to do. When was the last time you spent 25 years going to school? That kind of thing. You can't, it's just not going to work. So you have to be able to come down off the mountain and understand that you don't know what you don't know and get your act together to prepare to take this journey. Just like, what are you going to need to get from St. Louis to Portland, Oregon in a boat in 1803?
Right.
So that's the first step. The second step is you have to be aware of what's out there, because you don't know what's out there. I mean, there's a whole different pathway for drugs, devices, digital health, med tech, fintech, you name it. They're all different ecosystems. And therefore, navigating that ecosystem and the steps that you have to take to get an idea to a patient is very different. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody, getting a drug to a patient is a whole lot different than going to a hackathon on a weekend and putting up a website and trying to scale the heck out of it in a week. I mean, it's just a different ecosystem. So then you go through this. So you have to make yourself aware what's going on in the world, what's going on in terms of macro, microeconomic trends. What are your strengths and weaknesses? It's kind of like a SWOT analysis, but a little bit more in depth.
Yep.
Okay, so you've done that. Okay, I get it. I understand. I think I want to, and I say that this is a process. Then you go to the next step, which is intention. Okay, I've made up my mind that this is something that I still want to pursue. And at any level of this, you can quit. You could say, you know what? I'm just not cut out to do this. You know, it's like doing a rotation in medical school. I knew in 5 minutes that I didn't want to be an OBGYN doctor when I delivered my first baby. This is just not what I want to do when I grow up. So it's the same deal.
Yeah.
So at any point, it's okay to quit. Nobody's going to arrest you.
Right.
You just have to do that.
But you got to immerse yourself, you would say, and network with the right people to get to this point, right?
It's like a dating. It's like dating. You have to kiss a lot of frogs. You got to take a lot of clinical rotations to figure out what you want to do when you grow up.
Right.
So it's the same deal.
Same deal.
And you have, and that means networks.
Yeah.
Because most physicians have very narrow networks.
Very narrow.
And when they do, they're stuck in medicine. You got to talk to people in other fields. What's a day in your life like? You know, tell me a little bit about what you're doing. What do you like about it? What don't you? How'd you get there? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's the awareness piece. Then there's the intention piece. Okay, I've made up my mind that I'm not going to quit yet. I like this idea. I don't know much about it, but I want to go to the next step, and I'm going to intend to do something about it. And that means you have to develop and you have to get education, resources, networks, mentors, experience, peer support, and non-clinical career guidance. Each one of these steps could take a year. It could take a month. It could take who knows how long. It just depends on how into this you are or not into this you are. But you have to gradually build your toolbox and your skill set to engage with this. Okay, so now you've done that. So now you've started, you've up your LinkedIn profile, you're starting to reach out, you're building your personal brand like you and I are, you're connecting to folks, you're starting to talk to people that have nothing to do with you, like what's it like being a CMO in a tech startup, that kind of thing. And then you decide, hey, this is kind of fun. I like this. You know, I like that first date. I like being a first online date. Now we're going to meet at Starbucks. That's kind of the dating analogy. So then the next step, when you go from preparedness to awareness to intention, now you're going to make a decision. So now you've decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to develop, again, the knowledge, skills, abilities, and competencies to move this thing forward. And now I'm going to decide what I call picking your spot, or what are the roles, holes, and goals you want to satisfy. So the spot means, do you want to play in drugs, devices, digital health, care delivery, platforms? I don't care what it is, but you have to pick a spot. There's just too much out there. You can't be all things to all people. You can't boil the ocean. So you got to pick a spot. Then you have to do the role. So in other words, I want to be an ENT doctor when I grow up. I don't want to be a pediatrician. Okay, great. Now, what do you need to know about being an ENT doctor? What do you need to know about being a digital health entrepreneur? So now you have to figure out, what are your roles, holes, and goals? So the role is, where do I see myself playing? Do I see myself being a startup entrepreneur? Do I see myself being an advisor, a mentor, a CMO at a tech company? Do I offer some additional something or other to somebody in that area? What is the role? The second are the holes. That means what gap in the market or the problem do I want to fill? That's what I meant by being a problem seeker instead of a problem solver. What problem do I want to help people solve?
Got it.
And in my particular case, I got a million pet peeves, and we all do as doctors. whether it's starting the OR on time, whether it's there's a million, we all know, there's a million things that drive you crazy practicing medicine. Why doesn't somebody fix it? So pick one. Pick a problem that you want somebody, data interoperability, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, you name it. And then, so you have to fill the roles, holes, and goals. So the holes are what problem you want to solve. And the goal is, what are the objectives and key results you want to see? What are the deliverables? How would you measure your effectiveness in what you want to do? So for the case of, okay, I want to be a startup digital health medical advisor. Well, what does that look like? And when you're talking to the person that's hiring you, what are your expectations in terms of deliverables and timelines? And how do we get there? What is it that you want me to do to help you? Is it raising money? Is it getting FDA clearance? Is it developing an intellectual property fence? Is it expanding a market? Is it helping you find people? Whatever it is, it has to be very clear and clearly defined. So then you take that action, and then gradually you start experimenting with these different roles. And just like dating, you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince. Now, once you find your prince, great. Then you go down that road, and just like dating and just like marriage, it may work, it may not. Right. So you have to always have plan B. You always have to be under the assumption, the null hypothesis is, and call me cynical, this will not work. Mm-hmm. But it's based on fact. The fact is most companies fail, mm-hmm. and most of these things fail. So mm-hmm. always have plan B. Prepare when you don't need to. We just had these horrible fires in Colorado. So everybody's right. saying, if somebody knocks on your door and you have 5 minutes to evacuate, what's in your go bag? Right. Have a go bag, because you never know when you're going to get a knock on the door and the CEO is going to say, we really don't need you anymore. So it's that kind of thing. And then once you feel either happy or unhappy, then you make a decision. Well, okay, this is a good time, New Year's Eve, for me to decide, am I happy or not happy doing what I'm doing? And do I need to prune my portfolio or get rid of toxic people or find something else to do or figure out a different way to get compensated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then take the next step, pull the plug, learn from the experience, make it personal, but don't take it personally.
This is really good advice. Thank you so much. Just tell me, this could be very overwhelming for some people listening to all these steps in such a short period of time. Tell us a little bit about how SOPE, how your organization really helps physicians, give them the support. Is it mentorship? Is it coaching? How does it work?
Yeah, it's all of the above. And it's a platform. You can't just give people education and information. That doesn't cut it.
Yes.
They're not motivated. It doesn't motivate people to take the next step because it's hard.
Yes.
So we provide, as I said, education, resources, networks, mentoring, advice, things like this, peer-to-peer support. As doctors, we all want to hear case studies.
Right.
How did you do this? What happened to you the last time you did this? Give me a case. That's how we're trained. So it's the same sort of thing. Okay, here's what happened to me the last time I tried this. Mm-hmm. And, I tell people in my first career, I used to tell people, don't cut that. In this career, I tell people, don't do that. Like right. I've been there. I can, as an attending, I'm now like an entrepreneurial attending. I can tell you, if you do that, this is what's likely to happen. So I'm trying to help you.
Right. This is great. So when you join, what does that entail then? You just join?
Yeah, so you just go to the website, you join. It costs $80 a year, which is like a ridiculous steal. And we think it gives you a fair amount of value. Wow. And then I tell people what you get out of this depends on what you put into it. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to bug you. We're not going to ask you to do stuff. We're not going to ask you to serve on committees. We don't have buildings. We're there to help you. So if you want to engage a fairly large international community, and we're talking several 100,000 people who are doing the same thing you're trying to do, I think the biggest benefit, frankly, and we didn't understand this when we started, was what I call restoring the lost tribe of medicine. We've been so fragmented because of a whole bunch of stuff, corporatization and COVID and all that we've lost touch with each other. And it was fun.
Yep.
being part of the tribe. For a
Yep.
lot of people, it's not fun anymore. So we're trying to make this is one little step to trying to help people restore the fun of medicine.
Yeah, and I thank you for forming this organization. I know you did this out of your own frustrations, from
Right,
your own experiences.
right.
So, I really appreciate you giving back, and this is a nonprofit, and that's very commendable of you. How can people reach out to you otherwise, and what other platforms do you have coming up that people
Right.
can join?
So I mentioned, so as I said, you can join us by going to soapnet.org and you can join online and then we connect you to chapter leaders and here's how you get involved and all that. You can just contact me through LinkedIn or through my email address, which I think you have up there. And then finally, to kind of get a little deeper into the weeds, several of us have put together something called a physician career strategy platform, which you can find at www.mi10.ai. And this is it's kind of a monthly office hours where we get folks together to have this conversation. How
Wow.
did you do it? What did you learn? What do I need to know? Who do I connect to? Do you know anybody who can help me find a job? That kind of stuff. So we
Okay.
really kind of get into the weeds and try to help each other.
Okay. Is there a cost to that, to joining that?
There's each session. Yeah, we have a session once a month,
Okay.
and each session is $75.
Okay.
Or you can buy the whole enchilada and we give you all kinds of discounts.
Great. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate it. We've gone a little bit over, but I had to keep going because you had so many valuable things to say. Thank you everyone for watching. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. If you have a topic on physician leadership that you want to share that could be very valuable to our physicians, please email me at info@drelsiecoe.com. I'd love to hear from you. Just to let you know also that we have our program starting on January 10 for physicians who really want to make a difference in 2020 this year. It's already 2022. I can't believe it. And go to my website at leadphysician.org and find out more information. Uh, Dr. Meyers, Arlen, tell us our last words. So what do you have for advice for doctors out there?
Don't be grumpy. Don't be unhappy. I mean, the reasons this happens. Get over this warrior mentality. You're not alone. That's my headline. There's a lot of folks that are trying to figure this out, and there are many of us out there, including Elsie, that are trying to help you. So reach out and have some fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take
Right.
care, everybody.